beautifully gorgeous day in Ely, Minnesota, and I'm happy to be here with all of our online viewers. Today's broadcast is our first installment of Spencer's Wildlife Spotlight. This is where we'll be focusing on nature in the Northwoods. Our topic today will be regular visitors to our bear enclosure. There are many species of animals that come and go as they please in and out of the bear enclosure. And today we're going to talk about some of our most popular visitors. So we're going to start with none other than Chucky the Woodchuck. So if you're a regular viewer, you know that Chucky lives right over here in this rock den. And he very much likes his little habitat here inside the bear enclosure. We regularly see him, but it's usually after hours when most people have left. So just a little bit of information about woodchucks for you. Woodchucks live all the way north to Alaska, so they can live way up there. They can also live south all the way down to Louisiana, so they're spread out all across the country. They can weigh up to about 13 pounds. I think Chucky is pretty close to that 13-pound mark. They prefer to eat grasses, herbs, leaves, fruit, nuts, and other vegetation. Woodchucks are non-social, similar to bears, with the exception of mating season. They can have up to 9 babies per litter, and a baby woodchuck is called a pup. They will typically live 2 to 6 years in the wild, but they can live up to 10 years or more in captivity. They are true hibernators, unlike bears. In southern parts of their range, though, they may not hibernate. Woodchucks make 2 dens. One is for summer living, and the other is for winter living. They are hunted and eaten by foxes, coyotes, wolves, lynx, bobcats, hawks, domestic dogs, and sometimes even bears. Many different animals will actually use their abandoned burrows, so they do provide homes for other wildlife. They are one of the largest members of the squirrel family, and they can climb trees. So hopefully those was a little bit of information, some of which you probably didn't know about woodchucks. We're going to move on to our next animal, our next visitor, and that will be the snowshoe hare. So as a lot of our common viewers or regular viewers know, hares have a seasonal or color change. In the wintertime, they are completely white, with the exception of the very tips of their ears are a little bit black. In the summer, they are more of a grayish brown. Their average litter size is 2 to 4 young, but they can have up to 8. And they can also have up to 4 litters per year. Now, this is very, very uncommon here in the Northwoods with our shorter summers and growing season. Young are born furred and able to move themselves around. The mother takes care of the young alone. Only 15% roughly of hares make it to their first birthday. But they are able to live up to 5 years in the wild once they make it past that first birthday. They are most active at dawn, dusk, and nighttime. They use well-maintained trails to move around the enclosure. This might help explain why we have so many in the enclosure, the bear enclosure. There's plenty of trails that the bears make throughout the enclosure, which I'm sure the hares just love to use as well. They are actually great swimmers, which most people do not realize. They will easily swim across small ponds and streams. They have even been recorded jumping purposely into water to avoid predation. They like to feed on grasses, forbs, clovers, leaves, flowers, and other vegetation. They will eat bark, buds, and twigs and evergreen during the winter. They will occasionally scavenge on dead animals. The top speed of a snowshoe hare is 27 miles per hour, which makes them pretty adept at escaping predators. If you want to compare that to humans, Usain Bolt, the fastest human alive, was recorded at 27.8 miles per hour. So the fastest human is only 0.8 miles per hour faster than a snowshoe hare. Now, since they are such an important food source up here to many predators, the predators have also evolved to become very good at hunting them. Some of those predators include foxes, coyotes, wolves, lynx, bobcat, mink, birds of prey, and other medium-sized predators that you would find in this area. All right, that wraps up our snowshoe hare information. We're going to move on to the red squirrels. So, a lot of the red squirrels, in fact, all of the red squirrels here share the same name. We call them all Rocky. That's what they were named, and that's what we call all of them. They're a very, very common sight here in the bear enclosure. In fact, this past winter, where we had the bird feeders up, at one sitting, I counted 15 individual squirrels, at least, in the viewing area windows at one time. So that's quite a lot of red squirrels. They are smaller than most species of squirrel, and there are currently 25 recognized different subspecies. They typically weigh less than half a pound. Mating season is in the springtime, March to May, and in the Northland it extends into June, so we're right at the end of red squirrel mating season. Red squirrels can have up to 2 litters per year, but again, this is very uncommon in the North Woods. They will typically have 1 to 8 offspring per litter, but the average is 3 or 4. Offspring of red squirrel are actually called kittens. Very interesting. Young are helpless when they're born and rely completely on their mother, and the father does no help for bringing up the young. Mothers sometimes give part of their territory to 1 or more of their offspring. This increases the offspring's probability of overwinter survival. This is also similar to bears. The only catch is bears are nicer to their female offspring. That's who they give their parts of their territory to. They do not give parts of their territory to their male offspring. Bears favorite their female offspring. They can live up to 10 years in captivity, red squirrels, and in the wild, but it's very uncommon. They are considered long-lived for rodents in general, and also long-lived for their relative size being so small. The average wild lifespan is only 5 years. Only about 25% of red squirrels make it to their first birthday. They are prone to disease and predation. This is why so few of them survive. They are able to swim, just not very well. They can also hang completely upside down from all 4 feet or from just 2. This is a somewhat common sight at bird feeders. Red squirrels do not hibernate, but instead they are active through the winter months, and they make cache piles of food to survive the winter. One of their most common natural food sources here in the North Woods are spruce tree seeds, which they find by tearing apart cones of the tree. Another very common food item in the North Woods of red squirrels are mushrooms. They eat a lot of fungi and will even stake individual mushrooms to tree branches in order to dry them out to eat. They are extremely territorial and will vigorously defend their home territory from other squirrels and sometimes even larger animals. They are known for the calls that they make and being very loud. The calls take the form of rattles, screams, screeches, growls, buzzes, and chirps. Predators of the red squirrel include almost any bird of prey, foxes, coyote, bobcat, lynx, mink, fisher, weasel, pine marten, snakes, and humans. A little bit of extra information on the humans part. Red squirrels are the 3rd most commonly harvested fur-bearing animal in Canada, and they bring roughly $1 million to Canada's economy annually. That's quite a lot of money for such a small animal. That's all I have on the red squirrel for you, so hopefully you learned something there. We're going to move on to our last very common visitor, which is the mallard. As you know, if you're a regular viewer, we usually have a pair of mallards visit us every spring. We did see Donald, the male, this year, but very, very briefly, and then he had left. And Daisy, the female, did not show up at all. So that means that they probably found another nesting site, or Daisy and Donald are no longer an item. These ducks can be found almost anywhere in the world and is undoubtedly the most recognized waterfowl in the entire world. The familiar quack associated with these ducks actually comes only from the female and has been named the decrescendo call. It can be heard from up to miles away from its original source. Now, last year was the first year Donald and Daisy actually produced young that we got to see, and they did it right in our garden out front of the Bear Center. It was very cool to see, and we actually watched them hatch. They actually had to make a mad dash across 169, which we helped. Once they were on the other side, we let nature take its course. The next body of water is Shagawa Lake, which is just over the hill, so we're assuming most of them made it there. Maybe some of them didn't, but we let nature take its course, as I said, and she did raise a successful bunch of ducklings. In the years before that, we never saw the babies, so we kind of had a hunch that maybe Lucky Bear was eating some of the eggs because he is very fond of eggs. Now, mallards typically lay 9 to 11 eggs per clutch, which takes about 26 or 28 days to hatch. They can live over 20 years in the wild, which is quite old for a bird. They have a wide variety of food that they will eat, including vegetation, insects, worms, gastropods, arthropods, although they are not restricted to just. A male is called a drake, and a female is called a hen. The babies are called ducklings, which I assume all of you probably knew. Now, called a sword. WORD, no W, like the weapon, and that's what they're called when they're on the water. Now, if you type this into your Word document, even Microsoft Word will tell you that it's a spelling error, so they don't even know that that's what a group of ducks is called on the water. They can fly at about 70 miles per hour, which is quite fast, and they can also fly almost straight up, which is unique to waterfowl. Most waterfowl need a running start to get going. Mallards are able to jump and almost fly directly upwards, which is very unique. In 2006, the duck hunting industry added more than 2.3 in total economic output to the United States, which results in about 157 million in federal and state tax revenues, and supported more than 27,000 jobs and generated more than 8.5 million in employment income. That's quite a lot of money from ducks, right? And a lot of those tax revenues goes right back in to supporting local habitat, reconstruction and advancement, so that it benefits all wildlife, not just ducks. The last thing I have for you on mallards is that there is about 10 million, estimated about 10 million mallards in North America alone. And again, found all over the world. So just in North America, we have roughly 10 million. That's quite a lot of birds. All right, so that about wraps it up for our first Spencer's Wildlife Spotlight. I just have a few things I want to end with today. First of all, thank you all for showing up and tuning in. I hope you had as much fun with this as I did. And then I also want to invite you to go ahead and email me, if you'd like, for topics on our future Wednesday Spotlights. So this is a new program to us. It's something we're just going to go with, and for the foreseeable future, we're going to be having them every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. So if you want to email me, my email is pete@bear.org. pete@bear.org. Okay, pretty simple. Go ahead and email with the subject line Wildlife Spotlight. If you have any information you'd like to know more about, maybe that's a specific species, or maybe it's a group of animals, maybe it's a specific season, maybe it's a specific biological process, whatever, as long as it has to do with nature in the Northwoods, go ahead and send it to the future broadcast. I can't promise that I can include everything, but I will do my best to try and include it all. Go ahead and email me if you'd like. I'd also just like to let you know our broadcast schedule. We will broadcast every day at 3 o'clock, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay? Monday and Friday is about the bears. Wednesday is a wildlife spotlight. So again, thank you to all our online viewers for showing up and being a part of this. We really hope to see you soon this summer. We're allowed to have guests, but as of right now, we're doing broadcasts and taking care of the bears. So cams, and we really appreciate all your support. Thanks again, and we'll see you next Wednesday. We'll see you Friday at 3 o'clock. Thank you.